Okay, so as I already stated, our goal today is to give you an introduction to the canvas so you can start working on UI stuff. We're going to build a menu and also wrapped up in that, how to build a Unity build. Thank you. First step in the process, we just need to create a UI canvas. Unity does have a newer UI toolkit, but I've looked into it and it's not quite there yet. There's still a lot of missing shader support in their new version of UI. So this is kind of the classic standard UI, the canvas system. That's right. So I'm actually going to make this in a new scene. We're going to make a main menu scene. So this is my main scene here. It's called Tower 2. I'm going to make a brand new scene for this. Basic built-in. They should be in your scenes folder, or if they're not, they'll be in your main. But they all have this symbol. So right now this scene is unsaved because it says untitled. So I'm just going to save this as, yeah, new scene, empty scene. Yeah, well, this is in the same project. It's better if you have all of your levels and scenes in one project, because then they can all share the same assets and scripts and all of that. So whatever project you're working on, yeah, make this the new scene in that. So I've got our village and the two towers. So I'm just going to save this scene as, file save as. And you can see this is actually our assets folder, the same one that we have down here. In my scenes, I'm just going to save, there you go, there's Tower 1, Tower 2, Village. I'm going to save main menu. No, the same project from last week with the obstacle pack and the tower, the same project we've been using all semester. I'm keeping the same project, but a new scene in it. How? Okay. So is mine. Tower 2 is what we were working on last week, yes. And I also have, because I've just saved it, a new scene called main menu. And what we're going to do today is create a menu that can access the first scene. You click start, it launches the next scene in the player, and then we can trigger more and more. So yeah, we have all of our scenes. There's my village with the two guys. Tower 1, we're just kind of working this out. Tower 2, when we added a bit more. And then my main menu scene, I just have the main camera and directional light. So yeah, first step, just right click inside of your hierarchy and add a UI canvas. Right click all the way down to UI and canvas. And it should by default create the event system to go with it. And just to let you know, if you get a little bit behind, I do have this all in this tutorial I made just last night, so it's fresh, fresh, fresh. Everything that I'm doing, so every step of the process is in the PDF as well. Legacy, right? You do have it. You do because they wouldn't remove it. It might be under legacy. Are you sure though? Canvas stuff is available. Yeah, look, I don't think you should have to install the new version of Unity. Okay, package manager is where you need to go. The UI is now a package. You don't need to install a new Unity, but if you go to package manager and look for UI Canvas, you should be able to find it. Yes. It would be faster than downloading a whole new Unity, I think. If anyone else is, oh God, I love Package Manager. Yeah. Oh no, yeah. This is kind of practice. This is the one. Your final. Pardon? Mm. Mm. The input in class one? No, no. Unless you want to, like, you can use part of what you're doing in class for your final submission. It's just up to you to modify and finish it. Oh God, I can't find the canvas. Ridiculous. Yeah. There it is. In Package Manager, if you look for UI in Unity Registry, you can find the Unity UI. Okay. All right. Well, sure. Okay. But if you open Unity 6 and it still isn't there, you're going to have to go to the Package Manager. But this is something that has been standard since Unity 5. So, or even Unity 4.5 when they got in there. So for the last maybe 7 years, we've had the canvas. It should definitely be part of Unity 2022. I don't know why it isn't there. Okay, but in Unity Registry? Cool. Anyway, apologies. Slight delay to the class. No worries, no worries. We're still on step 1. Yeah. We're moving to step 2. Let's set our scale mode. We're just going to set a standard 1920 by 1080, but if you leave it at a smaller size, it can expand. But I'm going to set for widescreen. and scale with screen size. So I'll select the canvas itself. So it just sets a default resolution for it. And then I just put the match, which determines if scaling is using width or height as a reference, and it's going to be a balance between both. So different screen shapes can be accounted for. Number 2, we're going to add a panel background. You can add an image in the background for this. We're just going to use a color for the moment. We might set an image up later. So we're right-clicking on the canvas itself to add it as a child. Right-click on it, UI, panel. Right-click, UI, panel. Yes. So you're right-clicking on the canvas, and that will automatically create it as a child of that canvas. So you should see your canvas appear as this gigantic object. Unity does this to keep it screen agnostic, meaning we're not designing for widescreen or small screen. It's all this one mapping. If we want to look at how our canvas looks, in fact, maybe I should add a 3D object so you can see the actual scale of it. If we add a 3D cube, at 0, 0, 0. You see there's that tiny, tiny little cube. As I pull out, there is our canvas. You do not need to change the size of this canvas. It has a mapping one-to-one to the screen. If we double click on our canvas, we can focus on it. Or select and press F. And then in order to view it, we should switch to 2D mode, even though we're in a 3D project. We'll switch for 2D. Right now it's off, but I can flip between the two at all times. So the UI is obviously 2D overlay on your 3D world. Like that, and there we go. So there's my canvas, and my panel is taking up all this space. So I'm going to change the color of this to black. By selecting the little color here. And we can affect the opacity if we wanted to make it even darker. Want to black it out completely, we can. Might leave a little bit of opacity there with our alpha channel. You also notice that as I'm changing my screen size, the canvas will adapt to it. So the point is that it'll just map to whatever screen you're building for. So if someone opens it on an Android phone, it's going to map to those dimensions. Someone opens it on a laptop, it's going to map to 1920 by 1080. Another thing with all UI things is the concern about anchors. So where on the screen is it anchored to? In this case, the preset is correct. We want this to fill our screen, so it's going to stretch on all four sides. So we don't need to change anything there. We'll come back to that later. Oh yes, and let's rename this background. Just select, actually I'll do it here. Background. Next, we're going to add some buttons, some interactive menu buttons. TextMesh Pro button. You may need to install TextMesh Pro to this project if it's not already there. It'll prompt you to do it. But again, we're right-clicking on the canvas. We're selecting UI, button, TextMesh Pro. So on the canvas, right-click, button, TextMesh Pro. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to ask for that now, yeah. UI, button, TextMesh Pro, and there we go, yeah, I got the TMP importer, TextMesh Pro importer. I'll just click import. We're going to need two more buttons. So let's duplicate the same one twice more. These buttons are going to be our start game, our options, and our quit button. Close that. Control D and Control D. So I have three buttons. I'll just rename these Start options, quit. Or quit. If I zoom in on them by double clicking, see they're all in the same place, all three of them. I'm just going to move these around. Let's change the text on the buttons. Bless you. So we select the actual text property, then we can change what the label on the button is. We wanted to say start, options, or quit. So I'm just going to select each one. We have our properties over here. Text input, it just says button. Start. And different controls for standard stuff. Now would be a good time to take the attendance. Let's take the attendance. Please take your phone out of your bucket. I got your camera on already. Five, four, one. Okay, I can dig this way. Okay, so I'm just going to modify the other buttons. The text element, so it says options. And the quit to say quit. Scripting time. We're going to create a script. So let's make a new script called start menu. The most important part is that we're using the scene management. So this must be added for us to be able to switch between scenes. So I'm going to go ahead and create my script. Do I have a folder for scripts? I don't. I should. First things first, a folder for scripts. Folder. Scripts. And I'm going to grab all of the scripts, our respawn, our movement, our light switcher, our jumping, follow cam, and drag them in there. And then we need a new script that we're going to call start menu. Because it's the same project I've been using every week. So all the scripts we created are here in the assets. Everything that we've done is here. So all the models we made, the Hatman, the tower, the village, the wedge, they're all there. Any materials we created, if we're doing textured wood. And the obstacle course pack is here as well, with its own scripts. I can post all the scripts on Moodle if that would help, the light switcher, the movement, if you need them. Anyway, new script. Mono behavior, C#. Yeah. Did you get the... Why not? Why not? Yeah, so let's open this up in your code editor of choice. I realize I need to update Visual Studio, that's why I can't get autocomplete. Who needs autocomplete? So, first things first, at the very top, we're going to be using the scene management system of Unity. So, using Unity Engine dot scene management, capital S, capital M. Yep. New script called start menu. And the one thing I've added is the scene management reference. we use this so we can jump between scenes. So for example, we're going to click the start button and start the level. We could also use it for, oh, you're out of lives. Do you want to retry or quit? You can have another scene for that. You could have a winning screen. You've succeeded. You've gotten to the end. And just be a simple scene like this. We can get rid of all of these. Clear it all out. And we're going to use this to control our menu buttons. So each function we write is going to be for a specific button. So we're going to make a void. And I should probably make it public, yeah, actually. Void start button. Open and close parentheses, open and close curly brackets. We have an options button. So public void options button. Open and close parentheses, open and close curly brackets. Quit button. Open and close parentheses, open and close curly brackets. Let's also add some debug logs for testing so we can make sure each button is working. Debug.log. And I'll do a little bit of copying and pasting here. Let's So we're going to make two of these buttons functional for now. The start and the quit. Two commands. We've got scene manager because we're using scene management. We can load scene. We can do this based on integer or based on name. And we'll talk about the integer way later, but I'm just going to load it based on whatever your first scene that you want to load in is. And then this one, application.quit, pretty self-explanatory. It's going to quit the program on Windows. So while you're in your in Unity, it will not actually quit because it's not going to close Unity on you. But when we create the build, it will quit the game. Load scene. Oh, now you've got autocomplete. Yeah, right. So, I believe mine is called, my first proper scene is Tower 2, but whatever you've named your scene, it has to be that. Let me just check my scenes. Yeah, Tower underscore 1, Tower underscore 2. I could pick any of those names. I think we could make an individual button for each level, a level select, and just pick each one by one. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. No, you can create a brand new game. Yeah. Yeah, as I said, I kept it broad, pretty broad in the description, gameplay prototype. I do want you to feature your Blender work. I want to see you implement your work from Blender. That is a requirement. But yeah, pretty vague. Controllable avatar within this environment, gameplay clear objective. That is the only really guideline on gameplay and game design. I am just looking for one single stage. You don't need to make like multi-level unless you want to, you know. And that's it. Yeah, no problem. Just in case people you don't get it. I really, really, really can't stress this enough. All right. Where were we? Oh yeah, the script. Did we save the script? I don't think I did. I definitely didn't. Look at that little asterisk. Okay, let's save this script. Yep. I don't think there's anything else we need to add to that. So we're going to make another attachment to our canvas. It's going to be an empty game object. This is just going to hold our scripts that we just created, so it'll run in the scene. So right click on your canvas, create empty, rename that empty to be the menu manager, and then add the script that we just created. Roll that up, roll that up. Right click on canvas, create empty. Menu manager. And then this menu manager component, I'll just add our script. We can just search for start menu and it'll find it. Or you can go to your list of scripts and you can find it right there. Next, we want to actually point our buttons at this script, at this scriptable area. So I'm going to go back and select my start button. And we can look at its properties. So there's all kind of setting about, color, about, you remember UX UI, we can have hover states, we can have press states, we can have after color, stuff like that. I'll make my press state maybe a little bit green, why not? But the thing we really want to focus on is making it functional. Our on-click method is empty. It's looking for something that happens when we click. We want to click the little plus here and add an interaction. And now you see we have a slot that says it's looking for an object, basically looking for an object that has some kind of script that can work here. I'm going to click our little selector dot and pick the menu manager. I'll search in my scene because we created it in the scene. Menu manager. And again, this is on the start button. And once we have an object selected, it can check that object for scripts, for functions. We've created 3 functions, and they're all here. Options button, quit button, and start button. And it's that simple. Once you've linked that up, that button will now perform whatever is in that script function. If you wanted to play a noise, it'll play a noise. If you wanted to load the next level, as we're going to do, it'll do that. Start menu, start button. If you can't see the methods, then there might be an error in the script where it's not compiling. Check your console, make sure there isn't anything on a line that isn't loaded, a missing bracket or whatever. I'm going to do the same for the other 2 buttons as well. So yeah, for options, we're going to select the menu manager again, and then the options function we created, options button, I named it today. And for quit, we'll name the quit game button. Don't need that. Options. Again, I'm going to give a different press color for this. Why not? It's my game, I can do what I want. And click the little plus to add a function to the list. Select my menu manager. I could also just drag it all the way in. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I got it. And in the drop-down function, I select my start menu script. And because it's the options button, I'm going to select the options button as the function. pretty self-explanatory. It's the exact same. Little plus, little dot. And in my scene, I'm looking for the menu manager. And in the drop down, I can select quit button. And for the press color for this, I'll make it red. Destructive, why not? Good time to save the scene, I think. Control S. And if you press play, you can test your buttons. Bring my res. So I can click options, see it flashes blue on pressed, quit, goes red, and in my console, I'm getting options button, quit button. I click the start button, but it doesn't load our scene. Which leads us into the build zone. No build profile to share. Hmm? Any issues, any errors, or anything I can fix? Okay, self-explanatory. Fantastic. Perfect. Yeah. So we need to let Unity know what we're going to put in this actual build. It needs to know what scenes we're using, because we might have 10, 20 scenes in a project. We only want to use 2. So, oh yes, and we'll come back to that, the options panel. We'll come back to that after the break. Just going to get the core stuff done. So yeah, we need to go to our build settings, scenes and build, or build profiles as it's named now in Unity 6. But if you're using a slightly older version, it'll be called build settings. Build profiles. Scene list. And right now, sample scene is in there. That's the one I don't want to use. I'm going to add the open scenes, which is my menu at the moment. I'm going to deselect sample scene. I don't want it. And then, yeah, whatever my first level is going to be, I said tower 2, so I'm going to add tower 2 in there. You can just simply drag them in. I can drag in as many as I want. I can add village 1 in there as well. On tower 1. So that could be level 1, level 2, level 3, just stacked up. And then the progression is using scene management when you get to the end of a level. Maybe there's a button continue that loads the next scene. But again, I only need the one. I'm going to remove both of those. So I've got a menu and a game scene. When I was making the PDF, the presentation for this, I read the word scene so many times that it stopped looking like a word. Does that ever happen? I was looking at the word scene, I'm like, skene? What? What? It didn't look real anymore. It looks normal now, but I think it might go nuts. Anyway, we have different platforms we can build towards, but you have to install their modules. The only one I have at the moment is Windows, but I do want to look at creating for web as well later on. But once you have your two in your scene list, just go to Windows and we want to create a build. Select build and pick a separate folder. I'm going to build into this week, week 10, create a builder menu. I'm going to make a new folder. Build 001. And then anytime I make some new changes, I'll create another build and I can keep comparing and seeing, is it better this way? Is it worse the other way? You know, iterations is the way to go. So build 001, I'm going to make a lot more builds. Yep. So I've selected Windows as platform. And then we just go up to build. I've got my two scenes. Just click build. Yes. You can. I can try. And I'll succeed. What's more, I have confidence in me. No, you can't. The images, when you import them, you have to decide if they're going to be sprites and textures or UI elements. So on import, you need to tell Unity what you're going to use it for. But yes, let's do that. Let's add an image. But first, let's make my first build. Iteration 2, we'll add images. So I select this. The first build is usually the one that takes the longest, and then each time you build again, it's much faster. Oh my God. No, I made a folder separate from that. You totally can, but I find it confusing myself when I have so many files in my assets, and then I'm looking for builds as well. So I like to keep it completely separate. And that's the point. This build is totally separate from Unity. You can send this to anybody with a PC. They don't need Unity to play it. It's like its own game. It's fine. So that's the purpose of builds. So you can send it to people. They can test it. They can say it needs this or it doesn't need anything. It's perfect. Build 001. Any folder at all. It could be on your desktop. The point is, it's not connected. It could. And again, everything's in the notes, adding your scenes, yada, 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 picking your folder. So the other reason that I keep the folders separate is that you get a lot of other data files around. So if you put those just in your assets, then those folders can just get spread out and lost. So yeah, you want to keep it in its own folder, separate. And yeah, all files in the folder, once they're created, are needed for me to run the games. When I'm saying submit a build for the assignment, I need all of these things, not just the exe, common mistake. Because on Mac, it is just a single package. It's a lot neater on Mac. Yes, all of these objects in it. So the whole folder. Yeah, here's our new build. Oh, build took 2 minutes this first time. So yeah, if you're sharing the game with me, the whole folder, this whole thing. But now we should be able to test. We can double click on BSC 30925 game. Made with Unity comes up. And our game is here. Options does nothing. Quit, does it work? Yes, it does. And you can also see that one cube I created just behind. There's that single cube. So you can build like a 3D background if you want for your opening scene. You could have maybe one of your models and then add a rotation script so it just turns nicely. We can click start and we're in the game. Hooray. We've done it. And we have checkpoints. And we have towers. So, and also it'll run a lot smoother than when you're testing in Unity because it's just dedicated to this. Now, the other thing we could do is add a UI button inside the game to go back to the menu. Do that after the break. But someone asked me about adding an image, a background image. Okay, bless you. So let me find an image. Okay, there's an image. We can all agree on that. I'm going to add this into my materials folder because that's where I add all my other images. Oh, it's an AVIF. Yes. The 3D scene? Yes. We can do that too. And we can use scripts we already have. Okay, there we go. WebP should accept that. Oh, what did I do? I can't find an image that will work with Unity. WebP, WebP, goddamn WebP. There we go. There's a piece of text I made for a game, Haunted. Right. So yeah, if you want to add an image to your UI, and you probably will when you have in-game UI and you want to add, say, a health bar or stuff like something you design in Figma, you're probably adding some of it as images and some of it as live text. So here I've imported an image, Haunted. It is. I can drag it into my scene. No, I can't. I can use it as a texture. What I want is to change it on import from the default type to 2D and UI. Another thing, there's bilinear filtering available. I tend not to use it for my images. It's basically smoothing things over. If you ever use a Super Nintendo emulator, they use this bilinear smoothing on all old pixel graphics. That's basically what's happening here. Oh yes, and I need to click apply on this. Point no filter, click apply. And then I want to add an image to my canvas just by right clicking on the canvas. UI image. Again, right click on canvas and then select a UI image. It's the haunted image. Oh, it's because I have an image that has the word haunted in it. I made a party game where it was a quiz based on cars and whether the cars were haunted or horny. So different cars that were used, they're either the people died in them or they were used in sexy movies. It was a good game. We can play it right now. No. Anyway, you asked. It's a pretty good. It's just a PowerPoint quiz. Anyway, the source image of my haunted image is going to be haunted image. I can do it again. Mine either. Hmm. I guess I have to make it as a material, so. Everything changing. Okay, so I've added an image. And then, yeah, it does look a little dull. That's because it's behind my panel. Do you remember my background panel? What have I done with? So I made a material to hold it. I'm pretty sure this isn't how it used to be. Yeah, so I just made a new material. And then under its base map, little selector dot, I could select the image, any image. Ah, that's why it isn't working. Okay. Forget about that material stuff. Sprite mode is set to multiple as if it's a sprite sheet. It's not, it's a single. 2D UI, single image. Oh, okay. I probably need to install my sprite package as well. Nope. In game. Okay, I'll delete the image and start again because I think this is going to change everything. Okay, there we go. Gotta delete that image. Add another image. UI image. And there the sprite is. If I do select source image sprite, selector dot. Haunted. We also have a preserve aspect ratio switch, which is nice. And now it's actually lifted out of it. In game, it should show up. There it is, haunted. Did that work, Timberland, for you? It's working just fine? No. Did you? Your buttons are not working. Okay, we'll come and take a look at that. I'm just gonna make one more build and make sure this is working. Build is all the settings are the same. New folder, build 002. But there it is, everything you need to create a build and a UI.